Good evening, everybody. It's Friday evening, 7:30, when we come to you live from before and after I Say I Do. And it's such a joy. We thank God for the privilege to come to you again. And yes, as we continue to learn on fireproofing our marriages. And that has been our theme the whole of this month. This is the second last Friday for us to tackle this. So we are looking forward, and we have our guests here already, and I'm your host, Pauline. Looking forward to spend 1 hour with you as we talk about that, fireproofing our marriages. And I want to give this chance to my lovely guests. Fiona is here with me, as always, a sign language interpreter to help us with that, with the sign language. And so over to my guests, and ladies first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janet Matheri. I'm born again. I have been married for 16 years, going to 17 this September. We have 4 babies, 3 sons and 1 daughter. And I'm just happy to hang out with you this evening.
Wow, right. Thank you very much, Janet. Yes?
Jambo, I'm Jambo. Glad to be here. My name is Josek and Matheri. Now, Matheri means nothing but the truth. So help me God. Whatever we share tonight will be nothing but the truth. Married to this very wonderful lady for those 16 years. For sure, it will be 17 years this year. And we thank God for his faithfulness. And we are so glad to be in this space, that we are sharing together, not as experts, but sharing together about what wisdom God has put in all of us in marriage so that we can build one another. And thanks, Pauline, for this forum.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Matheri. And they have just come from work, and I'm sure they'll be telling us they actually come together. I was just admiring their uniform and so what they wear at work. So it's lovely to have you. Thank you very much. And even for saying that whatever you're going to say here is nothing but the truth. You know, I told our viewers that you're going, so help you God. I told our viewers that you're going to open up our lives, your journey of marriage to us. And maybe something they never mentioned is that they're marriage coaches. They've actually, and I'm sure you'll continue talking about that because people definitely need to have people who work with them in groups. So yeah, so it's lovely to have you here. Let me start with Janet. Tell us, how did you envision marriage, growing up?
Yeah, so growing up, I grew up in a Christian home, and my parents were ministers, as still are, and they really had a lovely, lovely marriage. So growing up, I envisioned a very happy marriage. I envisioned meeting the man of my dreams, who would be loving God, and who would be, of course, very hot, very handsome, and who would treat me right, who would treat me very well, because my dad, up to date, really treats my mom very well. So I just, that is what I had in my dream, that then we would work very hard and live happily ever after. That is exactly what I dreams.
Wonderful. And of course, that was when you were even a young girl, I suppose.
Yes, when I was very young. And I also remember my dad would come home with a copy of the Parents magazine every end of the month. And I think he's the only man who would hug his wife in Gishagi, in shags.
Wow.
Would come and mom, and we would all be so shy. But of course, we looked forward to, I did, and with my younger sisters, I was really looking forward for a man who was as romantic, like he wouldn't fear even in church, he would hug my mom. And I was looking forward to meeting such a man.
Wow, amazing. That was really, your dad really set a high pace for you. I mean, a good, nice high pace for you. Interesting. We are looking forward to hear what came after that desire. So, Matheri, so how was it for you? What was your vision about marriage growing up?
I think what can sum up my perspective about marriage when I was very young It's a story, a true story that happened when I was in nursery school. There is a girl I just fell in love with when I was in nursery school. And I knew love to be a very good thing because my parents were lovebirds, okay? Those were the days when a wife and a husband could not work together. I come from a certain part of Muranga where men are real men. And so those real men, it was a weakness to work with your wife together. Now, my dad not only worked with his wife together, they used to sit together in church against like the rules or regulations. Those are the days when men used to sit on one side and ladies used to sit on one side. So I really used to admire the relationship of my parents. So there's this girl, a young girl, we were together in nursery school. So I remember one day we came out of school and we were holding hands, you know, bega kwa bega. And then I asked her, by the way, when you grow up, we shall get married. And she said, yes. And it was not her, by the way.
Yeah.
Parts of this nation. And so I knew marriage to be a very sweet, nice thing. I could see my father go with my mother to the market. And it used to be an issue with other men. They could feel let down. I could see my dad carry a chondo. Those days when even touching one was like a taboo. So my imagery about marriage is people who are very much good friends and well knit together and having fun. Yes.
Wow, interesting. It actually seems like you both had a positive vision, or rather, were modeled for you had good models when it came to marriage. Amazing. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So then let's continue. So then at what point, so you said, Mr. Matheri, you said it was not her. So tell us, how did you then start dating? When did you meet Janet?
Basically, I was 6 years old when I was doing my first proposal to marry someone. That was quite hilarious. But then when I went to class 6, I forgot. And how I forgot is that I was made the class prefect. And nikamwandika noisemaker. Sasa, me had forgotten I was supposed to marry her. Then things went south. And hapo ndipo tulikosana kabisa, and things never worked before. So after that, so it's life anyway. That was a light moment though. So we met in college at Egerton University when we were adults, serving the Lord, having finished our fourth form, and it was an amazing story how we met. I'm not sure that's exactly what you want to hear right now, but I would say we met in school, okay, in a Christian union, serving the Lord together. It was an interesting coincidence, whatever happened. It's a very interesting story. And I would only say, look back and say, as long as you walk with the Lord, He walks with you, He'll make a way for you, even where there seems to be no way. And trust in the Lord with all your hearts and lean not on your own understanding. And He will make, He'll bless you. And when you trust Him with all your heart, and then He will make your way prosperous. So that's what I would say. When I look back now, 16, 17 years ago, the Lord has made our way prosperous because He's been faithful. Okay? But we met in college. That's what I would say.
You met in college. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Janet, why was it a coincidence? He said it was. Tell us about the coincidence of how you met.
So we had gone out for an outreach. We had gone out, and apparently he's the only one I didn't know, and I'm the only person I didn't know. So we were introduced to each other by a common friend, and I at that point I needed the song "God Will Make a Way" by Don Moen, and that friend of ours told me that this is the guy. This is Baba Moen. He's the guy who will teach you. He will give you everything about the music, and that's how the relationship began. He came to my room, and we continued conversing.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah.
It's okay, you'll be fine. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, even better now. Yeah. So you said he was called Baba. You said Baba Moe. No, what did you say?
Apparently, he used to call himself, he used to dream that one day he loved Don Moen's music. Like he used to play that in his room. And he used to dream that one day he would get married and he would get a baby boy and name him Moen.
Wow.
So when we met and finally got married, we were blessed with our firstborn, who is a baby boy, and we called him Moen. So people used to call him Baba Moen.
Oh, so now so you got the song
His
God
friends,
Will Make
rather.
a Way.
His friends.
Yes, his friends. So you got the song from him that God will make a way, and from there a friendship formed.
Yes, then he started coming to my room, but then according to him, he really did not notice me that much. He just knew I wanted a song, but he liked me. But there's another coincidence that he usually talks about. That we were in a Bible study, and he had been told by Astema, the focus people, to come to assist them go around to the Bible studies. And he said he wasn't feeling God had let him down in a specific way, and he didn't feel like going for any Bible study. But now that lady just told him, then you take me round, we just go check what's happening in the Bible studies. So when they came to our room, they apparently now came into our room where we were having Bible study as university students in one of the rooms. So I gave a testimony, I really don't remember, but he says he was really touched by how I knew God and how I was able to express myself in things of God. And he made a note that he would come back. He looked for that room number that would come back again. Then when he came back, he realized it was the same girl who was asking about the song. And that's when he brought his radio to my room so I can listen to God Will Make a Way. And he kept on coming and left the radio in my room for a whole semester. Of course, now he was marking his territory. And he finally told me, yeah, he was interested in me. In having a... Yes.
And so God had made a way. Wonderful. So then after that you dated, and after how long did you get married?
Wow, since we were in college and we were broke students, and I was in year one, I was in first year. So we dated for 7 years before we got married. So we dated, we graduated, worked for 2 years, then we had our wedding.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So then now you're married, you're two people who wanted a happy marriage. Janet wanted a gentleman who would treat her like the dad, and all that. So tell me, let me just ask you this question. Is there something when you first got married that shocked you, that you never thought, you mean this is what marriage is? Is there anything you remember that shocked you when you first got married?
I think everything shocked me. Everything. It didn't even matter that we had dated for 7 years. Of course, I knew he was a godly man, but when we got married, I realized there was so much about marriage that I didn't know. The transitioning, the just, submitting, the submission thing that we had learned, it was all new to me and it was very hard. It was not like how you just hear, submit to your husband, do this. In reality, it's a very, very different experience. I realized that I really needed God and I really needed to change as a person if our marriage was going to succeed. Why do I say that? Because both of us were working. We were new graduates, we were working, we were just getting to build ourselves. And so when I had the word submission, I thought it was about me not expressing myself, not just listening to what he has to say and not having to say anything, just following. And yet with my strong will, I couldn't bring myself to do that. So it was just shocking to imagine that there were so many expectations of me from the society of how I ought to do things, how, like everything, from when you wake up to the evening, how you need to plan. And remember, you do not go to any school to be taught marriage. You don't go to any school. So that really shocked me. I was shocked. I mean, I didn't know that he's not supposed to. I thought he should now just, like, for example, if he comes from work, I've served him tea, I didn't want to see socks that have been left, you know, in the my coaches, you know, things like that. They would just drive me crazy. Little things. And sooner or later, we found ourselves in a very bad place. So that really shocked me.
So that shocked you.
Yeah.
What do you remember? It's almost 17 years. What shocked you most, Mr. Matheri?
I would also say everything. In fact, let me take some water. I mean, from our wedding day, I realized, wow, I have to spend my bed with a woman. And I'm like, wow, how do you do that? That was the first shocker. It was the first time I'm like, wow, I'm spending my bed with a woman. My goodness. Okay. So I would say the other thing that really shocked me really is her personality. I had related to that for 7 years. We got married on our 7th year. I had this impression of a cool, calm, collected pastor's daughter. She's a pastor's daughter. Wow. Until we got home, she's a firstborn. I'm a firstborn too. Until we got married and I realized, wow, in terms of, I had even, placed her in terms of her personality traits. And I thought she was more of a phlegmatic. I'm a sanguine, a sanguine and a choleric, very strong-willed guys that can be a bit domineering. Only to realize, my goodness, this girl is a son called just like me. That was a real shocker. So let me tell you, our home, unless the Lord came, it would burn fire very easily because she has a strong will, and which was a little bit of a big surprise to me. And I have a very strong will too. And so unless really the Lord came through and we were able to get into a place of submission one to another and understanding one another, fireworks started immediately. Fireworks. So we started off our marriage with a bit of fireworks. So, and that was a bit of a shocker. And I'm like, wow, how are we gonna survive? I thought his marriage is a place where I come and give my ideas and she's just taking notes and ticking them. Then I realized, no, she has other ideas and they are deep. And she's very deep. She's intelligent. And I realized, wow, I'm not gonna have it easy here. So that was quite a bit of a shocker for me. That was quite a bit of a shocker. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember a particular? Do you remember a particular issue?
Yes, let's say I would come up with ideas on how we want to invest. And she has a very different idea on how we need to invest. Wow. I come from an Anglican background. She comes from a Pentecostal background. So deciding on where we want to make this like our church, for instance, you discuss and realize, wow, okay, things are not as easy as I thought they would be A, B, C, D. So such like things, especially in terms of we are young, we need to have a foundation, we need to invest. Ideas about investments were not my ideas about investments. And that was quite something. We came from a background where it's an issue of your money, my money. So agreeing on how to manage her money, my money, our money was quite something. And that really drifted us quite a bit before we could find our footing. Yes.
And you mentioned that, of course, and even now that you're Christians. So how was that? Were you being able to reconcile the fact that there's a lot of fire here, you're Christian? How was that for you? Rather, Janet.
I found it quite interesting because the person that I thought I was, I realized that marriage really introduced me to myself. And that is something that we really do not get many times, because I have not been, exposed to a place where I'm able to mirror myself. Then I really did not know completely. Yes, I knew I was strong-willed. I knew my focus and my dreams. But to find that, I'm shouting at my husband and I'm born again, it was a bit difficult to reconcile. And I realized deep down, I have a problem. I have all along by my parents, as parents, they always tell you you're the best, you're doing a good job. Remember in school, it is the same thing, especially if you're a bright student and you're just, going by life the way it's supposed to be done. Then everybody just thinks you're succeeding until you get to a place where you have an obstacle. And that's where I realized, unless I go deeper with God in prayer, in searching the scriptures, and in getting mentors. Because I wasn't, at the beginning, it wasn't very easy to get elderly mentors. We were really not going to a good place. So according to what you've asked about reconciling what I found, and that the fact that I was a Christian, I realized from deep down, we are really not all that. There's so much inside that unless you get into marriage or you're in a relationship which is very close, you cannot know. You can't imagine me. I look very sweet from the outside, but I could shout at him, and that just would take me down for weeks. Like, what's really happening? How come? Because in my other life, I never got to be pushed to a corner the way I did. And remember, both of us have the same temperament. So we would really have a lot of friction. And I would find myself not saying very kind words to him because I wanted to win all the time. I wanted to win. And he is very strong-willed. He also couldn't take defeat. So he would also try his best to get the upper hand. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I realized I really needed to get deep with him.
Mm-hmm. So what is it when because you said unless God intervened, Matheri, what is it that you felt you are doing? You are not doing when you searched yourself, what is it that you thought? Maybe it's me, it's the way I'm doing things. Like, how was it even when she shouted? She's saying she really would shout at you. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was not easy. But let me say this. The thing that really encouraged me most to really stay on is the fact that I started praying for my marriage immediately after Form 4. Okay, I got born again in Form 4, and some of the people who brought up spiritually advised us as early as now, start praying about your wife and your wife to be now. So I had spent a lot of time in prayer and fasting, many years, and so when the Lord led me to my wife, I call her Kaluki. I don't call her her real name. Kaluki means honey. So I have difficulties calling her real name. I don't know. Just doesn't feel right. So I call her Kaluki. So when the Lord led me to her, because you realize even in Genesis, somehow after man blamed God for the wife you gave me, God stopped the business of giving men wives. But he asks, but again, if you ask the same Lord, he will guide you. And so the Lord guided me, did not give me per se, but guided me. And I was sure that it was God's will. It was in his will for the two of us to get married. Because the Lord led me in a way that was completely fulfilling and satisfying. So one thing that I was so sure about, we were not to part ways, because there's no way God was to put us together and just to part ways. So for me, that was a very solidifying thing. So whatever else we were having, it was separate from divorce. It was separate from separation, because I had that assurance that God was involved in our process of getting together. And if you ever doubt whether he was involved, that is the moment when things can really get very bad. But the fact that I had that assurance, it was quite fine. Now, so back to your question, or still in your question, some of the things I could find myself in some awkward situations. Is like, I mean, anger. You realize, hey, niko na temper. I used to know I had some temper issues, but where, not like when now somebody answers you in a marriage situation, you're like, what did I say? What is that I've said? You're like, is it me who really still love the Lord? And as you said, marriage introduces you to yourself. So I realized I have anger issues. Okay, that shocked me because I didn't know it was to that level. Okay. I also realized that I am impatient. I thought I was a very cool, calm guy. I had given myself good marks until she checked in and realized, wow, okay, I have miles to go in terms of patience, in terms of listening. I used to see myself as imagine myself as a very romantic guy and one who would be so loving. Then she could prove to me that I'm not giving her enough love. And so that was good for me to really see, wow, I have things to improve. No matter how much I love the Lord, there was so much to learn and so much to unlearn in those kind of aspects. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. So what about you, Janet? What is it that you saw that for you when you just thought about it yourself? What are those things that you felt you needed to work on, or were your obstacles?
As I talked earlier, as I said earlier, submission was one of my big things that I really needed to work on. Respecting my husband and just, settling in marriage and knowing that this is for a lifetime. And I need to learn early enough to respect him. And, there are instances would tell me that I don't feel respected in this instance. And I would ask myself, why would this be? But as I continued to learn and, to learn about marriage and learning, because every marriage is very unique and every person as an individual is very unique. And as much as we had related for very long, I had to become a student. So I would know, how does it look for him when he has a bad day and he comes through the door? How does that look? When he's very excited, how does that look? When he's had a bad day at work? And remember, I'm also going through the same thing. Like I also have my own challenges, but I learned, like I would talk so much. I mean, when we were together, I would just talk so much until he had nothing to say. So I now started learning that I need to give him time to also express himself, because as women, we speak so fast and he also needs to be heard. Now, actually, he's the one who talks more than me, at least in many instances. Then with my girlfriend, talk all the stories. So I had to learn him and learn what does he want, what does he, when he looks like this, what happens. Not that I hope you get me right. Not that I've given out my own individual space or to be understood, but that I wanted really to understand him, and I asked the Lord to help me to understand him. And by I made a decision that for this marriage to succeed, I need to do my part. I need to learn to submit, and I started learning slowly. And within 5 years, I think we were in a very good place. But the first 3 years, we were not in a good place. As I continued to learn, then I saw he continued improving according to what I was seeing was wrong. I couldn't see those many, mistakes. I would do something and he would really praise me. And I'm like, this thing I wasn't praised for. I was not praised about it 2 years ago. But now it's all praises about it. And I realized I did it. I consulted with him before I went and did it. And so it was part of the process. I learned to bring it along.
Before you would even do without discussing?
Well, he was very inclusive. We would discuss, then I would sometimes do my own things. I wouldn't, I had, some calls can be very stubborn. And so I had that stubborn nature that we would agree on something and I would just go out of my way and do something different. And it will really annoy him. So I learned now to bring him along when I'm doing something. And he always, now that I have to give him credit, he used always to bring me along. But I don't know, I would just get stubborn, probably just to win in that situation. And I realized, does it benefit me if I win and I leave him out? We are really not a family. We are not pulling together. While we are supposed to be pulling together and walking this journey together. So I learned also to bring him along. And from then we started seeing that we started seeing a lot of progress in our relationship. We started having fun. We started going out for, long weekends without the children. We just started now enjoying our marriage. And we would sit and do a SWOT analysis, discuss our weaknesses, our strengths, our opportunities. We would discuss them. And when we discussed them, then you would make an effort, so that by the next SWOT analysis day, you have improved in a few areas out of love, not out of compassion, because we loved each other. We were so sure that we loved each other. We wanted to be with each other, but there's something that was just keeping us, fighting all the time.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. But then you are laughing at some point. There's a point she said, and maybe you can add something to that point. Yeah, when she, yeah.
Come.
No, she talked about, I think it's when she started respecting you and you also started, I think, warming up or something. Maybe tell us about submission. What was submission to you? I know that's a word that comes up, and also Janet has brought it up. What was it? What is it for you? What was it for you?
Wow, very interesting. By the way, this is I know this is a beer mug, but I'm having water with lemon and some honey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that commercial break.
All right, good. I just like it because of the volume. I would say, I think really the number one need for a man is to be respected. And so whenever she would not come along with me or agree with me, or whenever she disagreed in a way that I felt like did not reflect respect, was very painful. And I would say that is what I would say, like when he talks about, being submissive to the husband, only strong people can submit, by the way. You cannot tell a weak person to submit because they already submitted, okay? So, and I believe the reason even why the word of God advises wives to submit is because they are so strong. And so if they don't submit, they're gonna be chaos. And that was the exact situation in our marriage. My wife was so very strong that if she really did not submit herself, it was not going to work at all, okay? And so as we went through, we were quick to learn from our mistakes. Some few things happened and I realized actually this girl is making genuine mistakes. She's not out looking for ways and means of how we can separate, okay? Some few things happened and I realized, okay, this girl actually, she's not, aggressing me because that's what she wishes to do. It looks like she really doesn't know anything better, okay? And I had to step down at that point. I realized, okay, it's not like she's fighting me deliberately. This is what she thinks and knows life to be, okay? And so I had to really be more gracious, okay? And then I had to really try and accommodate, other opinions, because I also had a problem that I came from a background where most of the things my dad said went through. Okay, let me just say that. Most of his proposals went through without a lot of opposition. So I had that imagination that she's a different person. And so my emotions had to be vetted properly, okay? So I also had to change my mind to allow that vetting, because that vetting, it was not with an ill motive, is to ensure that whatever decisions we make as a family, then they are sound decisions. And as I now also changed in terms of how I loved her, okay? And because my love for her was based, it was like a reward system, okay? I had based my love for her on how she submitted and kind of respected me. I now started loving her irrespective of whether she was submissive, irrespective of whether she was, respecting me. And that is when things started changing, okay, quite a bit. And then I started noticing actually she's really going out of her way to respect me, to honor me, to include me, to do the things we have said the way she, and I was like, wow, this is such a big smile. She put a big smile in my heart. And so it was a turnaround. It's like forgiveness. You should never wait for your aggressor to come ask you for forgiveness. You must learn to forgive them anyway, even before they ask you for any forgiveness. And so that was like a turnaround where I started giving her unconditional love that was not based on how good she was. And then on the other side, she had made up her mind to really work on this marriage and respect her man. And things just started turning around for sure.
Wow, amazing. And I think that is what you talked about earlier, the submitting one to another. So both of you had something to do.
Yes.
That's interesting. So of course, with time, you got children, as Janet was mentioning. How was that, accommodating now children into your marriage? Did you have issues of, differences about parenting now that you have added people in your family?
Now, what I would say is break down our journey in 2 parts. Before we got to 3 years of marriage is where we had quite a bit of drama in what we just explained. But what worked for us was communication. From the word go, we just learned how to communicate effectively, how to just stop what we are doing and really get into a subject and get done with it. And that really helped us, such that when the baby came, remember our first baby came on the 2nd year, and that was still within some drama. But by the 3rd year, we settled down. And on parenting, we always agreed on what to do. We'd sit down, we'd agree we need to go for parenting classes, we would agree this is how we want to discipline our children. This is the path that we need our children to follow. And up to date, we agree completely on how we bring up the children.
Well, what do you say then after, now you fireproofed, and I like the way Matheri said, if there was a lot of fire, something needed to happen. Now you've learned one another, you've agreed that each of you had something to do, each of you audited themselves. And I like what you talked about, the SWOT analysis, and how every time somebody worked harder, and it was out of love, not out of compulsion. What would you say, how then was life after that? What did you say you were missing, or some misconceptions that you had earlier about marriage?
Probably the myths, the myths that we go into marriage with, at the end of the day, they're in the subconscious. Like, as women generally would hear the fact that there's no man who can be truly faithful. They will, play around here and there, and you're always very keen because you just, in as much as you're a Christian, you had those things and you even saw them happen. So those are some of the misconceptions. And I realized my husband loves me. He keeps assuring me of the same, and I can actually see it. And then I really settled in. And in as much as our parents all have good marriages, at the end of the day, when you go through you're exposed to different places, these things come up. That when you get married, you're gonna be sat on in courts, and you will not be able to say anything. And that actually broods a ground where you start becoming defensive when there's a small issue that arises. And not that it has anything to do with your husband, but just that because you've heard that this happens to most married women, that married women do not, once they get married, things just go downhill. It's not real. The real. I actually started enjoying my marriage, and up to date, I do enjoy my marriage much more than in the beginning. So it's just getting rid and subconsciously just filling yourself with the positive things that God says marriage is about.
Wow.
And respecting, you know, that sacred relationship that you are in, that really God is the author of marriage. So those misconceptions, yeah, I had to deal with them as well.
Matheri, what would you add when it comes to after now you are able to fireproof? What would you say you enjoyed now more?
For sure, I enjoy a very great marriage myself. Each one of us have the perception of the marriage they are in. We will be in the same marriage, and I can tell you, for sure, I really enjoy my marriage. There's a lot of peace. I enjoyed a lot of peace, tranquility, you know, that assurance, that confidence, you know. I know I'm going to a place called home, that even after, you know, men are hunters and gatherers. So after my hunting and gathering experiences, sometimes they go wrong in the field up there. Things really can go very wrong. I come home where there is joy, where there is comfort. And what also changed is that throughout that journey now we became best of friends, because I have absolutely nothing to hide from her. She has nothing to hide from me. And that friendship and fellowship in its depths is very rewarding on its own. The fact that I know for sure I have a best friend in my wife. That really wasn't exactly there before, because it was more of a marriage partner. But now the marriage actually ought to be based and founded on friendship, you know. It is not that legalism of a marriage and marriage vows and marriage certificate that keeps you together. It's not that at all. It's that unconditional fellowship, friendship, and love. And that is exactly what I enjoy. I don't have to be too careful what I say to her. I am just myself. And before then, I had to be very, 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 very careful, like walking on eggshells in my own marriage. If I say this one, you know. Now, I'm not careless, but I am free. I enjoy freedom. I am enjoying life in my own marriage. I'm flourishing, and that has given me energy, you know. So I would say, really, I found my life back. You know, I'm a life guy. I you enjoy, yeah, however you understand that, and that's exactly what I do in my marriage. I'm eating my marriage life with a big spoon, and I'm really enjoying. It's fun, but after the pain comes the gain, and I would say that we as couples ought to find a way of turning our pain into gain. You know, we should not go through pain for the sake of going through painful experiences. No. It's a molding process. It's a making process. Let us see a better product, like the product we had before the pain. And that's exactly who we are now. We truly are enjoying a great marriage. And I don't say that for any reason to please anyone or to make anyone envious. Not at all, really. It's really the mother, you know, nothing but the truth. We truly are enjoying our marriage. And given another chance, I would marry the same girl the same way, and of course avoid the first 3 years of marriage.
delete, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm happy. I'm happy who I am, and you can actually tell somebody who's happy. You actually even hear reports from home, your friends, and they can, hey, there's a lot of joy. Sometimes you're going through a storm, and I don't have to hide her the storm I'm going through. Now we work together. We are directors in the same company. She has access to all the books. And so she knows exactly when we are in the red, when we are in the blues and stuff like that. And I have nothing to hide. Before I would I have to hold this closely, because if she finds out we are in so much debt and, you know, we have not paid ABCD, but now I don't have to hide anything. Everything is there for all of us. So it's enjoying a very high quality of life. Oh man, that is awesome. And I would say like Jesus, who said that if you lose, whoever loses his life for him, he said, then he will find it. And sometimes you need to lose your life quote unquote in marriage. In other words, you need to sacrifice. Then you can find your footing later on. But if you hold your life like this, closely to yourself, and you're not opening up, then you stay like that. And that is what Jesus said. If a seed stays on its own, it doesn't die, it just remains on its own. But if a seed dies, okay, it grows, germinates, and now it becomes a tree, a forest, and so on. So I would say both of us had to die so that we can be who we are today now. And that dying meant that I listened to her. That dying meant that I love her irrespective of what she does or doesn't do. That dying meant that she honors her husband, even when she thinks I've done stupid things, because sometimes I've done stupid things for sure, and to give me the honor of her husband, irrespective. And now that dying has made us who we truly are today, because when I look back, even our kids reading, just like I did and enjoy my parents' marriage. Oh, our kids, they can almost tell you what marriage is. You know, they really love marriage, and they talk about marriage openly and sincerely. And we are very happy to see that coming out of us, because kids would really know who you are. You can't pretend before your children, you know. And so when we can even see the impact we are having on the generation behind us, we just say glory be to God. But they don't understand the heat before they came. Then they are seeing in fact, the other day my daughter was asking, why do you marry somebody and then you divorce them? So you just leave them. If you know you are going to disturb them, why do you marry them in the first place? That's bad.
That was powerful. So instead of marrying them, leave them before you marry them.
Leave them alone. Yeah, and she was very disappointed, you know.
That is nice.
Yes.
And what I can hear from both of you is the intentionality, you know, you purposed, you never just left it. And as much as we are laughing about, you know, deleting the 3 years or if they were not there, but I'm just thinking, don't you think the pain, just like you said, the pain brings gain. Possibly you're stronger because of the pain you went through. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You also learn to treasure the person that you've walked, you know, together through the fire. You know, it's exactly like Fireproof. You don't leave your partner behind. So I have learned to treasure him, and I don't take him for granted. Every single day, whether we could be at the office together like today, or we could be in different locations, but whenever we meet in the evening and he comes back home, I realize that it's a blessing and that I need to treasure it, and I don't need to take it for granted that he comes home to us and he loves us genuinely, and he will always come, and I can't have supper unless he's come. Even the kids know. And part of the reason is because for the longest time, as long as he's around, he serves me dinner. Like, I can't remember the last time I served myself dinner. He serves me dinner every single day, and a drink like 90% of the time. So I have to wait for him. Not
so you feel so nice. You want to be spoiled.
Not because he's gonna serve me.
Yes.
Not because he's gonna serve me food, but because, I mean, it's just good for us to sit together and just look at how the day has been. And we just enjoy our dinner and a cup of tea before we go to bed. We just unwind. And really, for me, there is no day that is complete without that part. So I have learned to take it and to treasure it completely and to thank God for it.
Amazing, amazing. And I mean, that is your culture, you know, that is the Matheri culture, because again, there's that thing of it has to be the lady serving there, but then that is the culture, the African culture that we know. But I like that every marriage should have their own culture of doing things. That is very nice. So we have, time runs very fast, and I would like us to take this time because you're marriage coaches, and God has enabled you to be a blessing to other couples. And there's a couple listening to you who possibly are feeling that really, can we enjoy it like the way you're saying? Is marriage really, can it work? And they are feeling they are that verge of, you know, giving up. You know, it's even more than the 3 years, possibly 10 years. What would you tell a couple listening who is feeling it can only be out?
All right. First, I would say iron sharpens iron. Okay, and whenever iron is sharpening iron, there is friction. There are sparks of fire. Okay, whenever you're doing that, there are rough edges, and there is debris that is left. We only talk about the sharpening, but we forget about there is heat. Even when you are sharpening a knife, you feel it. You know, it's hot. You know, and that's what happens to us. Whenever, even a joint, whenever you're putting in a joint, even on a piece of wood, you can't just put them just like that. You have to use sandpaper. You have to rub nicely, lose some debris, get some nice place you can join. Whenever you're joining even pieces of metal, you have to rub nicely. Sometimes apply some acid, make sure everything is clean, and then solder. Now, we focus so much on the rubbing. We focus so much on the debris. We focus so much on the heat, and we forget about the light, okay? So it's not, yes, the process is painful, but we should not just come out of a process with pain only. Even now, whenever we were in high school, even college, mixing certain chemicals to form other chemicals, there could be effervescence, you could see boiling up of stuff, but that is a process of forming something new. Okay, so we must be patient through the process to see the new us that you come out of this painful process. But as long as we focus on our pain, then we lose it. Okay, because the purpose of pain is not to scream. Okay, the purpose of pain, of course, to alert us something is going on, but in the process, then it is part of the process of a new coming out of it. So I would say, for couples who are going through friction like we did for our first years of marriage, it's an aspect of changing your mindset, realizing that there is something that is not working. That pain, that pain in the marriage is something to let you know that there's something being worked on. There's work that needs to be done because marriage is work anyway. And we want to have fun because of the marriages we see on soaps, opera, and stuff like that. But we forget about the process that makes that. So it is, we are focusing on the wrong thing. It is like all our babies have been born into my hands. And so I'm very familiar with the birth process. It's not easy, but would not lose it to focus on the painful process and forget about the beautiful babies that have come out of those processes. Same thing with our marriages. We need to let God deal with us such that we stop focusing on the wrong thing, but we focus on what can come out of that painful process. Because even when we are teaching our kids, it's not easy. Try teaching your son or your daughter on how to ride a bicycle. They must fall. That's a sure. If you want your kids not to fall, then it's not possible. It just can't work as a way of life. So I would encourage them that have this focus on the gain that comes after the pain instead of just focusing on the pain. But also, you must have felt enough pain to make a conscious decision to be different. You must make that conscious decision that you know what, I want to enjoy my marriage. Because you can go through pain for life and come out with only pain. It is very possible and very unfortunate. So there has to be that conscious decision. That's what they say, that we can learn from experience. Okay, experience is the best teacher, but they also say it doesn't have to be your own experience. Okay, you don't have to experience every pain in marriage so you can be wise. No, they say that wise people not only learn from experiences, but they also learn from experiences of others. Okay, so you don't have to go through each and every possible pain for you to be enjoy a great marriage. So change your focus, change your attitude, and also make that very conscious decision. Do you want your marriage or not? If you really want your marriage, then pay the price, but also, make that decision to enjoy and sit together and decide, really, do we want to have a great marriage? And if it is, then what do we need to do? But others can go through the motions of life, paying 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, like we did 7 years, 10 years. Then you realize, it's just been a painful process. But where is the product?
Now, Janet, talk to somebody who one of the spouses is willing to work on it, but one does not want. Somebody listening, they're saying, I want, my spouse doesn't want. How would they be helped?
Now, what I would say is if there's no physical and emotional abuse, then you can get a lot of success. It doesn't matter that you're the only one who is working on it. Remember, it is not only you. You have heavenly support working on your behalf. So call God into that marriage and make a decision that I will work on it and I will call God until he comes. But if there's physical and emotional abuse, then that is not a place to stay. If you're working on it and there's no abuse, keep on. God will come through for you. Go ahead and also get the services of people like Pauline who are able to give you counseling. People like, anybody who's close to you who can help you and hold your hand. And why do I say professional people? Because they are able to walk with you without necessarily taking your stories out there. So it's not just any other person that you want to confide in. You need to confide to people who you know have been appointed and are really passionate about wanting you to succeed. And we will be glad to see you come out victorious.
Wow.
And if I may add on to your permission, I would also say that seek to have the right relationships, okay? And befriend people who really value their marriages, whether your spouse wants to work with you or doesn't exactly want to work with you. And sometimes it's also a perception. You may think your spouse is not committed to walking that reformation journey with you, but it's just because of the fear and what they have been through in the past. So one of the things you can do is to form very deliberate friendships of people who seem like they know where they are going in terms of marriage. Have dinner together, have lunches together, and have moments of inspiring one another. And in those moments, you find somebody has opened up and has warmed up. Okay, so one of the things I would really encourage even couples, even going forward, is to form very deliberate relationships. There are these relationships we have because we're somewhere in college, or we used to work together, or we come from the same village. That is good. But you know what? Carefully select friends who you want to work closely with, who have serious marriage, family values. That will help you walk along together, because you will see people's lives who can open up and also form groups where you disciple one another, where you can discuss the word of God together in a marriage context, and where you can be vulnerable one to another and walk a certain journey. I'm saying that because that is something that we have really done by God's grace over a number of years, put people into groups and see a lot of changes happen. When I'm not the only one who has issues being respected. I'm not the only one who thinks my husband doesn't love me. But how have they conquered? How have these ones conquered? And, there is hope. So that really can work very well, where you stop just relating with people because you go to the same church and it's the same church, where you used to be in the same college together, ABCD, where now you ask God to guide you, to order your steps, and pick some 2, 3, 4 couples to work with very deliberately together and mentor one another. That can take you quite some journey together.
Wow, that's nice. So an accountability friends. Thank you. So our time is up, and it's been a joy just listening to you. But let me allow you a parting shot, just 1 or 2 words to somebody who is listening about to get married. They're about to get married, because we have those listening too. We have talked to those in marriage and all. So a parting shot will go to somebody who is about to get married, preparing to get married. Let's start with Janet and then Matheri.
Now you're planning to get married.
Get married.
Get married, but keep your mind very open. Do not have, I would tell you that do not have any expectations. Build from the ground up. No expectations, because those expectations will definitely let you down. So go there knowing that it is, it's vitu kwa ground, zinaweza kuwa si kama unajua, but with God, all things are possible. Bring God along with you to your new marriage. Amen.
Wow. Thank you. Yes, Matheri.
Right. I would say none of us would dare to pick a car and go on the road without a driving license. Okay. Because we need to be trained. None of us would go to see a doctor who is not a qualified medical doctor. We don't dare do such foolish things. So when it comes to marriage, it's the same thing. We need marriage skills. Just like we have driving skills, we need marriage skills. So what I would say to young people who are getting married, just like you invested 8 years in primary, 4 years in high school, and another 4 years in college, 16 years. The reason why you have the career you have is because of those 16 years of continuous learning. Please deliberately invest in your marriage. Yeah, invest in your marriage so you can have marriage skills. And what I mean by that, from very early, pick up couples some who are older than you, some who are your age, and some who are younger than you. There will always be somebody who will mentor you up. There will always be somebody who is your peer. There will always be somebody who you are giving to, okay? Make sure you are in a church or in a church forum. These days, the whole world is global, where there are a lot of marriage enrichment programs that are going on. Please don't just stay at home and think you know it all. You'll have serious issues. And the other thing is, make sure you are reading a book at least. What did I say? This year specifically, we have read 2 books every month on different subjects. Make sure at least every 2 months you have read a book, a serious, nice book on marriage. Okay, that's what I would say for the young people. Invest in your marriage so that you make sure you have marriage skills and relate with the right people from the word God.
Wow, amazing. I mean, what a better way to end. And it's been a joy. Thank you for sharing your journey, and so that people can see. It's not that they smile, at times we see, but we don't know the process. And it's nice to see that we can go through the process and it can give us beautiful smiles at the end of it all and make us enjoy our marriages. So that's all we had today, viewers. It's always a joy. I'm your host, Pauline, and our sign language interpreter, Fiona. We look forward to climaxing our month of Fireproof My Marriage this coming Friday. So from us is have a lovely weekend and a beautiful week ahead. And may God bless you. And thank you, Matheris, for being with us this evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bless.